Hey, everybody, whoever's watching us. We are today going to be talking about magnesium, right?
Magnesium.
Yay! In case you don't know who we are, I'm Dr. Smith, and I do family medicine here in Lawrence, Kansas. And this is Heather Fiore, and she does pre-state nutrition here in Lawrence, Kansas. But she does telemedicine stuff or nutrition stuff too. So if you're not in Kansas, you can still do stuff with them, right?
That is true. I have, and I will.
I'm not sick. I just have a little tickle.
Okay.
I do telemedicine, but only in Kansas. Sorry.
Yeah, licensure.
Yeah. Darn rules,
right.
Regulations.
Yeah,
Anyways.
It is something that I think about too, because depending on what people need, if they're in a different state and there is licensure there, I may not actually do that.
Sure. So maybe you could guide them still a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, you can cross state lines?
No, it depends on the state. Some states have licensure, some states don't.
Really?
Some, like New York, has this like certification thing that really doesn't protect the scope of practice, but just the name.
Oh.
Like, well, what is the point of that?
Right?
Anyway.
All right, so today we're going to talk about magnesium.
Yes.
And what is magnesium, right?
Right. So we have this whole theme about electrolytes.
Right.
So,
which is how we got on magnesium.
Yes.
And which actually, when you're checking blood, magnesium is an extra test that you have to do. You have to add that on. So if your doctor if you're like, I want to get my electrolytes tested, and you're specifically wanting to know your magnesium level, unless you say that, it won't be tested, because it's just not something routinely that we test for unless you're having signs or symptoms of magnesium, or maybe you're at a higher risk of getting low up magnesium. So it's just not something that we would routinely test for.
Okay.
There you go. If you want to test it, ask. Anyways, what does it do? It's a cofactor in actually more than 300 enzyme systems that regulate reactions in your body.
Okay.
It does stuff like protein synthesis, nerve and muscle function, and then blood sugar control and blood pressure regulation. It's really big actually with ATP formation, which ATP is like our energy in our body. So it's really big in that. And oxidative phosphorylation, that's basically formation of ATP. And then it also helps in the breakdown of sugar. And then it helps, where it's like located the most is bone. So it helps in formation of bone, structure of bone. And it works with calcium and potassium in transport across the membrane. So oftentimes if one goes one way, then, your other one is going to go the other way. So it helps in transport. And why is that important? Because that's important for your conduction, nerve conduction, and also for muscle contraction, and then heart rate regulation. So interesting, right?
A couple of minor body systems there.
Right. So yeah. So
okay.
Anyways, it's mainly stored in your bones. Most of it, it's like 50 to 60% stored in your bones, and then only less than 1% is in your blood. So that's usually how we test it, which is interesting. And then the rest of it's in your soft tissue, like in your cells and stuff, in and out of your cells, because that's where it's working the most, making energy and helping with transport and stuff like that.
So if such a small amount is in your blood, I mean, what is the value of measuring it?
Right. There's, the blood isn't actually the most accurate way to measure it from what they say. It's the easiest way to measure it. Otherwise, it's doing tissue samples and stuff, which you can get like epithelial cells from your cheek and do it. But again, it's kind of difficult. You can also measure it in your urine, but The premise behind how we measure it is actually like because it's so tightly regulated, if it's low in your blood, then it's going to be low everywhere else. If you're not excreting any into your urine, then you're holding it all because you don't have enough.
Got it.
So it's more of an extrapolation of what is going on. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So
I mean, kind of like how you do with calcium too, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this magnesium is regulated mostly by your kidneys. And so that's why I'm saying that if we can measure it in your urine, because your kidneys will excrete it into the urine if you have more than enough, which is actually good, because if you eat a lot of it, then most people don't become toxic. I say most, because there's always a caveat to that. So if you have kidney dysfunction, guess what? You're not going to excrete it. Elderly people don't excrete it as well either. So just kind of some thoughts there. But for the most part, if you're like a normal, healthy individual, and if you're a normal kidney function healthy individual, then you're going to excrete it like normal, like everyone else. Okay. And I guess you excrete about 120 milligrams a day.
That sounds like a lot.
Right? Especially since, how much are you supposed to take in as an adult?
For adults, it's like 400.
Right? So if you're like excreting a fourth of it.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. That's kind of wild.
Yeah. There you go. So that's kind of interesting that you excrete a lot. I guess we want to have more than less.
Right. I guess, that's the idea, right? Is just get rid of it rather than not have enough.
Yeah. How can we get it?
Well, it's cool. It's in a lot of different things. And in a lot of the things that we're always saying, you should eat these things. So that's the good news.
They're like on our list.
Yeah. So
are they on our Mediterranean diet list?
Yes.
Awesome.
Leafy greens.
I eat a lot of this.
Right. Leafy greens have got a lot of stuff in there. Legumes. My favorite.
I love those legumes. I gotta add in some legumes to my diet.
Nuts and seeds.
Oh, I like this.
And that's always the thing that I think of with magnesium. I always think about nuts. So like, there are certain things that you can't get, that are hard to get anywhere else. So if you're eating nuts, you're going to get certain things in your diet, and you're going to miss out if you don't. Like selenium, which is,
I actually
really
eat cashews because when this was like probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I started going with this crazy heart rate. It was crazy. I thought I was going to die. Like I was having trouble breathing and everything, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. Wow. And I was on a monitor, and it was just going crazy. Oh, and it was because I was, bless you, because I was low on magnesium.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
why were you doing that?
I don't know. I think I was nursing at the time. And so I started eating a bunch of cashews and oranges. And then
you were better.
I was actually within 36 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I ate so much cashews. Oh my God, they were good. So now, like whenever I have a salad, I always throw cashews in there, just like add in. But spinach has it too.
Right. There's your leafy greens. Also whole grains. You will have some magnesium, and then milk and yogurt. Okay, and then some fortified foods like cereals, often have some little things like that in there. And then, of course, you could always take a supplement. But that's all those kind of foods that we talk about a lot.
All the time.
Fiber and,
Coming on our list, these foods are good things for us.
Yes, so just eat the food.
I guess we talked about adults, but what about the other people in our lives that aren't adults? How much should they get?
So for adults, it was 400, or so what we say 410.
Yeah.
And then teenagers, it's similar. Girls a little bit less than boys. Preteens need like 240, and then younger kids, like 4 to 8, need 130 milligrams, and then toddlers need like 80 milligrams.
Which you can get it from peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My son is a peanut butter holic. He loves scoop of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Peanut butter spoon. That's what he says.
That's because it's legumes, right?
Yeah.
Peanuts are legumes.
Yum, yum, yum. I love peanut butter.
Me too.
So anyways, and then there's no actually recommended dosing for little babies, right? Not that has been out there.
I don't know. I guess I just didn't.
I don't think there is.
Is that right?
I don't think there is. I think it's toddlers and up. So we aren't leaving babies out. We just don't know how much they need. So I guess enough is in the formula and the breast milk that you're getting. I guess I didn't look that up, but I'm sure that it probably does go into the breast milk.
Yeah, it must.
There's like a bazillion. It's like gold, that stuff. It's amazing. So like what happens if you're low? You know, I mean, I already talked about one thing, right? If you're low, you can have a crazy heart rate.
Yes.
That happens.
Yeah, what else?
But actually, the interesting thing is that this is so tightly regulated that it's kind of hard to get low.
Huh.
Unless you have like the perfect storm. But if you do get low, you can get some like decreased appetite, nausea and vomiting, muscle cramps, fatigue, weakness. As it worsens, you can get the heart rate stuff, and then you can get the numbness and tingling. Some people, like if it's really bad, can have seizures.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you get really bad, then you also get low on calcium and potassium.
That makes sense.
Right. Because they go hand in hand. They're all working together, people.
Mm-hmm.
All working together. So anyways.
Okay. And then can you get too high? It sounds like it's really hard to do because your body handles it. But like, let's say your kidneys aren't working very well.
If your kidneys aren't working well, then yes, you can get high.
All right.
But otherwise, as long as your kidneys are functioning normally, then you really can't get high. You just excrete it in your urine. So that's kind of a good thing. You can get high actually you can get high with supplements if you're taking a lot.
Makes sense.
Because some people like their supplements.
I mean, if you're going to do it, like a little is good and more is better. That's kind of the mentality of.
Yeah, but not so much.
It's not true, but I'm just saying that's how people think of it.
Yeah, so that's, not so much. And so you can get high. You can get toxic on those levels.
Okay.
And, but again, if your kidneys are working and you're not going crazy, then you should be fine.
Okay.
If you're not, so like you don't want to be starting to give grandma magnesium either, because they don't process it the same. They don't excrete it as well. And so you can get high with that. And of course, if you have kidney function. So
talk to grandma's doctor.
Yeah.
Before you start giving her stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So what happens when you get high? So the interesting thing is that just like milk of magnesia is milk of magnesium.
Sure.
And so it's a laxative. And so if you take that, guess what happens? You get diarrhea. And it's the same thing. If you get too much magnesium, you're going to get diarrhea. So there you
go. Okay. Makes sense.
Nobody wants that.
Not really.
And it's because the magnesium salts have an osmotic activity, and so they pull water into the gut, and then it also stimulates gastric emptying. So then not only are you pulling water into the gut to make things move, but then you're also stimulating it to make it move.
There you go.
So that's what happens.
That's whammy right there.
Yeah. And then you can also get some, of course, cramping, because that's what happens when you get diarrhea.
Obviously.
And then an upset stomach, because sometimes the crampings make your stomach upset. So that's really what you get if you're toxic.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so we don't want to do that.
So there must be medications that probably affect magnesium, or
oh yeah, well,
vice versa.
More so magnesium affects medications. So magnesium supplements will decrease your absorption of your bisphosphonates, which we talked about that a little bit with calcium.
Yes, I believe we did.
And so magnesium will decrease your absorption of bisphosphonates. So those are your bone medicines like Fosamax.
Interesting.
And it can also form insoluble complexes with tetracyclines, which are is a one antibiotic class. So that wouldn't be good.
Nope.
And then loop diuretics and thiazide diuretics will increase, because this, makes sense. It's kicking magnesium out into urine.
Right.
So it's going to increase your magnesium loss in your urine. Potassium sparing diuretics actually will increase your magnesium in your blood, decrease the loss.
Okay.
Because again, it's holding on to it's holding on to potassium. It's also holding on to magnesium.
Got it.
So those, that's like aldactone, spironolactone. Those can do that. So you would want to actually check your magnesium levels because they can get high with that.
Okay.
And then the other big one is proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole or Prilosec, Prevacid, Protonix. Those are all PPIs. And those actually, what happens is you will lose magnesium with those over time. But you have to be on them for like chronic use, so over a year, and then you can get low on your magnesium. And so the recommendation is actually to check your magnesium, but that's not taught to us. So now we know we should, and so you can ask your doctor if you go on a PPI and you're going to be on it long term. Sometimes you don't know that. So if it's like you have a little gastritis or indigestion and you're going to use it for 6 weeks, that's not long term, and that's not really going to affect your magnesium. Right. But if you have, say, like Barrett's esophagitis, which is like chronic indigestion, and that can change into cancer, then that's going to be long-term treatment.
Yep.
If you get strictures in your esophagus, that's going to be long-term treatment. So if you're doing long-term treatment, then you want to ask your doctor to check your magnesium level before you start the Protonix, or that's usually what you go on. And then like during the process, you check it randomly during the process every couple months to make sure. And so like 75% of the time, if they get low, then you can just do a supplement. But there's like 25% of the time that doesn't help. And you have to stop the PPI, or you have to figure something else out. Because if it's like, you can't really stop it if it's on there for Barrett's. Right.
But there's other things, right? Like Nexium, that's not a PPI.
Nexium is omeprazole, I think. What is Nexium? You're thinking of Zantac. Zantac is not. Zantac is an H2 inhibitor. Let me see. I think Nexium is omeprazole, and that would be.
And that would still be one.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, as omeprazole. So, it's easier to remember Nexium because you can pronounce that, but omeprazole is harder to say.
And it tells you what it is.
Yeah, Nexium. Yep. There you have it. That's what I was pretty sure. Okay. So, there are people at risk. Anyone with like stomach issues, like Crohn's, any kind of like absorption issues, celiac disease, which we've talked about before.
Right. Poorly managed, I would guess.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like before you get diagnosed or something.
Yep. Because you can't absorb it as well, the magnesium. Also, if you've had a bypass. Especially if they bypass the ileum, which sometimes that does happen. If you have something in the small intestine that's going on and they have to take a section out, or they have to bypass a section, if they're bypassing the last part of your small intestine, which is your ileum, that will also put you at increased risk of decreased magnesium absorption.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what else? Alcohol. Gotta love alcohol. Alcohol tends to be like multiple reasons that you wouldn't have magnesium. One is because you're drinking so much alcohol that you're not eating anything nutritional, and so you just have a nutritional deficiency. But it also because you have GI problems, and then also you'll get a fatty stool from pancreatitis.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the fatty stools, you're not able to absorb the magnesium either.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be deficient on vitamin D.
Sure.
And that you won't be able to absorb the magnesium. And then they also get renal dysfunction. And then that, again, like we said.
Triple whammy.
Yep.
Alcohol. Okay.
Yep. And then type 2 diabetes, because you're usually excreting more in your urine because of the sugar.
Again, poorly controlled.
Poorly controlled. Yes, poorly controlled. Because your sugar is making you pee more, and so you're just excreting more.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, elderly, they don't have as much in their diet, and then also they can't absorb it as well. And then they're usually also kicking it out more in the urine.
Right.
So that puts you just being old. I'm getting old. I'm over the hill. Where is the hill? I don't even know.
It's a moving target.
It is. I think that like it's 60 now.
Yeah.
So I'm not over the hill yet.
And when you're 60, it'll be 70.
It'll be 80. Yeah. I got to give myself 20 years to get there.
Yeah. You're good. You're still good.
So everyone always, like we talked about before, you know, everyone wants to know, does it help me with anything?
Right.
Right.
Right. Because now it's not just about like preventing deficiencies, but you know, is there some positive benefit health-wise to either supplementing or just getting enough food?
Yeah.
So obviously bone health, right? That's clear.
Yeah. Because it's involved in your bone formation.
Yeah.
It also actually is involved in the action of the osteoblasts and osteoclasts, and that's like what breaks your bones down and then builds it back up. And so it's also involved in those activities as well. So it's actually multiple reasons. But what studies have shown is that the higher your magnesium is, let me rephrase that. When you have a higher magnesium level, those people, as compared to like people that have less magnesium in their blood, the ones that have higher magnesium in their blood, not toxic levels, just higher, those people have a greater bone mineral density. So it has shown that. But there isn't any studies out there really that says we should be supplementing people with osteopenia or osteoporosis with magnesium. You know, I don't know, like most people in that category are elderly. So is it, you know, you would just have to watch that really carefully, I think.
Right. So maybe just getting them some legumes would be a better call. Yeah.
Some different diet, I think, would be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So what's the story about heart disease? There's sort of some...
Yeah.
Does it help or not?
Okay. So hypertension. So what they have found with hypertension is that it can lower your blood pressure, but it's only like 2 to 3 millimeters of mercury, which is nothing. Okay, let's just face it.
Why are we even talking about that? That's ridiculous.
That's like nothing. So it's not going to lower your blood pressure.
Okay.
But most people, so if you're only doing it with that, then it's not going to lower your blood pressure. However, if you do it with, like, say, the DASH diet, you know, because a lot of times, isn't in the DASH diet, don't they do like a magnesium alternative, like salt alternative, or is it potassium? Salt alternative?
Potassium.
Okay. So,
but you know, a lot of the same foods that have the calcium and the potassium have the magnesium. They're all packaged together.
Yes, which is why we keep saying them.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of part of the DASH diet. So really, is it the DASH diet? Is it the other dietary stuff that is lowering your blood pressure? Probably. Yeah. So really, it doesn't really affect your blood pressure. Don't think that your supplement of your magnesium is going to affect your blood pressure. You need to be doing the other things like the diet modifications, and that will affect your blood pressure.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay.
Cardiovascular disease. Now, there is some data that shows that when your blood level of magnesium is higher than people's that are low,
Very carefully worded here.
Yeah. Then
Yes.
it does decrease your risk of cardiovascular disease.
All right.
Which is a good thing. So it's not really going to lower your blood pressure, but it might lower your risk of cardiovascular disease.
Okay.
And it seems that when it comes from the supplement, when it comes from food, there seems to be a direct link between the higher magnesium foods and the lower cardiovascular disease. But is that because of the food?
Magnesium or because of all the other great stuff about these same foods?
We keep saying this.
Just eat food. That's all.
You know, isn't it great that we can tell you to eat food? I mean, that's like so great. I love to eat.
I know.
I just love it.
I do it multiple times a day. It's great.
Multiple. Like all day long I eat. And I eat a lot of those foods.
Yeah.
Because like she keeps saying it over and over and over. And so I'm listening. And so we eat those foods in our house.
Yes.
And so hopefully our risk of cardiovascular disease will be lower.
You
and
bet.
so our blood pressure.
Totally.
But it's not so much maybe with supplements. The data isn't quite clear.
Yes. We're always looking to figure out a way to put in a pill and take it. Just eat the food.
Eat your food.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
The other interesting thing is headaches.
Oh.
Okay,
yeah.
this is
That's
actually a
big
really good one. Migraine headaches. If you are a person that suffers from migraine headaches. So magnesium deficiency is related to factors that promote headaches, including neurotransmitter release and vasoconstriction. Okay, so that's like when your blood vessel is narrow.
Yeah.
Not because of a plaque, but because they're contracting.
Yeah.
They're getting narrow. People with migraine headaches tend to have a lower magnesium level in the blood and tissue.
Mm-hmm.
That has been found.
Okay.
So the American Academy of Neurology and the American Headache Society, you know, like that society gives me a headache. Anyways, they have said that magnesium therapy is probably effective for migraine prevention, but they have not come out and say like this is how much you should be taking.
Okay.
And so what I would say is that if you're a migraine headache person, and your migraine headaches are like all month long, then it may be related to magnesium deficiency, and so eating these foods would help.
Mm-hmm.
If it's hormonal, I don't know. These foods might help a little bit, but probably not as much. Although I can tell you that I'm a migraine headache person, and mine are hormonal induced. Okay. And ever since I have been eating these foods, which I have been eating this type of a diet for a couple of years now, but I keep modifying it as you're saying things and adding stuff to it. But what I did notice was that when I changed my diet to these foods, my hormonal migraine headaches actually got less severe.
Yeah. How do you like that?
Yeah. So, I mean,
that's cool.
You know, when the butcher knife is sticking through your eyeball and you want to throw up.
Give me some spinach.
Yeah. So changing your diet might actually be a good reason to change your diet.
Wow.
Hey, Selena, I saw that you said hi. So I want to say hi. But so now it's more like there's a butcher knife stuck in my eyeball, but instead of like, I would used to get this 3-day rebound headache afterwards. And I really actually don't get as much of that. When I treat my migraine appropriately, I won't get as much of that. And I've noticed the improvement with my diet.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
There you go. That's powerful.
There you go. And only every so often do I get one of those that's like, I can't get the butcher knife out of my eyeball.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, but not nearly like what I used to have.
Wow.
And that's diet. So there you go. Magnesium.
Just another reason.
Right?
So I've heard that magnesium could have an impact on like depression and anxiety.
You know, I could see that because actually, if you think about it, your neurotransmitters that you're They're involved in neurotransmitters.
Okay.
And so if you are having some anxiety, depression, things like that, then absolutely I could see that it would improve your symptoms.
Okay.
The other thing that I was just thinking is sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, your brain doesn't have the capacity to regenerate your neurotransmitters. And so if you're not sleeping enough and your magnesium is low, that's like a double whammy. So sleep is something like we don't do enough of, actually. Yes. Because society is so on the go all the time. Yes. Like go.
I'm amazed at how little sleep some people can get by.
Right? I know. Actually, most people can't get by. Like the low amount is 6 hours. Mostly it's like 6 to 9 hours, and women tend to need more sleep than men. But when you don't have enough sleep, you know, they might look like they're getting by, but they probably have a headache, which is something that's pretty oftentimes seen.
And I'm sure
they can get moody.
Probably memory failure.
Yes. Sorry. Well, I wouldn't say memory failure, but more like slow cognition. Right?
Yes, I could.
And then if you go like that for a while, you can actually start to hallucinate.
All right.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah. So get your sleep and eat your magnesium, or eat all these foods. Say them again so that we all can remember.
I was just thinking we should review.
Yeah.
So leafy greens.
Legumes.
Nuts and seeds.
Whole grains.
Dairy, milk, and yogurt.
Yeah.
And then maybe some fortified foods like cereal.
And maybe some cereal.
Yes.
Fortified.
If it's a whole grain and it's fortified, then hey.
Oh man, it's like a double win. That's awesome.
How about that?
It's like the easy button there. All right. So we have beat magnesium to death. Yes. And just so everyone knows, next 2 weeks.
Just 1 week I will not be here.
1 week. Heather is going to go to Venice and Rome and have a smashingly great time. And when she comes back, she's going to show us some pictures. Maybe, hopefully. And so we weren't going to do anything next week together. I might do something, but we weren't going to do anything together. And then we will rejoin each other in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And what are we going to talk about?
So we, just to like round out the, sodium. Yes, the electrolytes. We should discuss.
I'm already like feeling the blood pressure rise.
Got the swollen feet happening.
Yeah, that pickled juice. So. Anyways, okay. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Like we always say, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And if you have an idea that you want us to talk about, please like toss it out, because our list is getting low. So give us some things to add. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully it'll start to get warmer.
Yes. I'm going to bring some warm weather from Italy.
Please do. And some maybe gelato.
We'll see.
All right, you guys have a great rest of your day.